Joyquilts. Today I'm going to be doing the second and third row of a couch quilt that we're doing for a wedding gift. You can see it's got a wide border, so we're doing a different pattern in the border. The one we chose for the border has been taken back into the software and mirror image, so there's a motif in the center of it, and that equalizes both sides so that it balances more easily. So we've gone to one of the stitches in the last row to find ourselves an orientation point for the first stitch of the next row. Next thing I have to do is press the start button to start at the beginning, so the computer knows to start counting steps and start at the beginning of the next row. This particular design is called Greetings by Karen Farnsworth. It's built into the art and stitch component of the software. One of the nice things I like about this particular pattern is the first stitch is basically at the edge of the design area. Sometimes your first stitch is in half an inch or an inch, and then that makes it a little difficult to know if you're exactly in the right spot when you take your first stitch. That doesn't happen with this one because it starts right at the edge. I'm just going to pull out the bobbin thread. And press go. So this is going to stitch across the quilt. This is about a 66 by 80 inch quilt. It's large for a lap size, but I'm making it for a wedding gift for a tall person. So that'll work. Okay, so it's going to start stitching now. We basically stretched and skewed this pattern a little bit to make it fit the area. It's smartest not to do too much of that if you don't have to, because it kind of affects the shape of the design. It can start looking kind of strange. Just going to pull that bobbin thread out. Okay, so what it did there is it caught the bobbin thread up in the stitching and took a jump when it actually stretched it far enough to break the thread. Normally I pull it right out of the way, but sometimes I'm not sure which way it's going to start stitching, so that makes it a little difficult, and that one got me. But it just made a slight little misstitch. It's really not going to be noticeable. It's kind of stretched one of the stitches a bit. So this pattern is balanced pretty much left to right, so we didn't worry about changing it and taking it back into the software. This was much more simple. All we did was mirror image left to right and flip it upside down. Just visually it looks better. The nice thing about this method is it allows me to tell which row I'm on for sure, because I know if it starts on the right side that it's going to be row 2, 4, or 6. If it starts on the left side, it's 1, 3, or 5. So it just kind of helps me if I get called away or something breaks or life gets in the way. We need to know where we're at when we come back to the project. Using polysheen thread, 40 weight Mettler, and number 80 SUK needle. SUK, of course, is the ballpoint needle, which works really well with these high-speed machines. We're just working at 50% because this is more of an intricate pattern. I don't really want to make it go too fast, because then we'll be dealing with more thread breaks, which never makes it fun. Found something interesting today, which I hadn't noticed before, and it's constantly a source of frustration that we don't know. When we choose our safe area, we pick the upper left corner and the lower right corner, but we don't know what the north-south distance of that safe area is, which is always annoying because sometimes there's a little bit of a stretch or skew in the quilt, and you're trying to pop a design in an area that's not exactly rectangular or almost always rectangular. So figured out a new way to do that. When you set your safe area for the first time, pick the upper left and then pick the lower right directly below, but the full length down. So basically you're picking a straight line with no width, and that will give you in inches your north to south. So then when you go over and you pick your right side, you know that you've got the actual distance that you need to fit that motif. Otherwise it's going to skew it a little bit and it's not going to be straight. Then when you get to the end of your quilt, you're going to be a little off kilter. So That makes sense. That's the best way to do it. Sometimes programmers don't really think about the practical use of it and how important that is to us, but that solves that little problem. So now I know exactly the north and south, then I can figure out how that design is going to fit right to where I want it. So it's just going to stitch right across this. The borders will be a separate video. I have done a border video before. I think we'll do one on the last row. Joyquilts, Instagram, Facebook, joyquilts.com. Thanks.